What is up, guys? Sonduren Canadian Rider. I'm with Mike from DRS North, and we're going to be giving a recap on the first race of the 2022 F1 season. We had a lot of expectations coming into this race. If you haven't seen, we did a prediction video, which I'll link in the card above, about where we think the winners, the losers, the constructors are all going to stand. And we had a little bit of a wrench thrown. I think some of our predictions were right, but some of them didn't necessarily pan out the way we thought. So maybe, Mike, why don't you walk us through in Bahrain some of the stuff that we expected and then some of the stuff that we really didn't expect.
Yeah, perfect. Like I said, so I mean, it kind of went into this with open mind, new regulations, hoping to see that closer racing and kind of a tighter kind of pack as a whole. You know, the first couple laps to me were very exciting because I thought that they were delivering exactly what they sold. That the pack seemed very close, whether all the way from 1 to 20, you know, right around the corner, you know, all together.
Right.
And then, you know, but when you look at the end of the race, it seemed if you looked at the final scorecard, it was no different than last year. You know, you have lapped cars, you know, minute plus gaps to, you know, the back of the pack. Yeah. So that was, I guess, interesting to see, but, you know, we're still kind of in that R&D new regulations stage. So you'll see how things shake out over the next couple of races.
Yeah.
I think we all kind of, you know, when we're talking about our predictions to what actually happened, we thought Ferrari was going to show well, Mercedes, Red Bull, you know, and I think that all three of those did. I mean, we'll get to the details, I guess, of the Red Bull.
Except at the end for Red Bull.
Yes.
Oh, man.
And the interesting thing about that is, right, they're starting to take over for Honda, and they open up their own powertrain unit. And 3 out of the 4 Red Bulls, right, if you include AlphaTauri with Gasly, 3 out of 4 had failures.
Huge problems, really disappointing and heartbreaking. And we'll talk about that. But I think the highlight was Ferrari, and we saw them in testing, obviously doing really well. You know, starting in the front of the pack, we were holding on the entire time. They had the speed, they had all the kind of the momentum in the S's. They had everything going on for them. I was really impressed. Even when Max was behind Leclerc, he wasn't keeping up pace. Yes, we had the back and forth, right? Coming out of the DRS zones, which was really exciting, but every single time Leclerc overtook Max at that second portion of the DRS zone. So I felt that when Max lost his ability to get into DRS, you could tell that he wasn't keeping up the pace with the Ferrari.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think this was obviously an interesting track with those first DRS zone 1 and 2 being so close together.
Yeah. Where,
you know, I almost was thinking like, oh, should Max just really not pass on DRS zone 1 and then make the next attempt on just 2? So if he passes them, then he's clear.
Right.
But he kept trying for that DRS 1 pass, and he ended up, you know, having a bald spot in his tires and kind of pushing the car too hard. Initially, when Max started having power unit issues, I was kind of like, oh, I think you were just too aggressive on your passes. But then when Perez had his power unit issue, you know, and Gasly, it was just like, okay, maybe it's just a Red Bull issue as a whole that they need to look into.
Yeah, and it was odd. Like at the end of the race, I saw the spin out by Perez, and I thought, oh my God, there's no way, he's such a pro. And then we find out it's the engine that cut off, and that's exactly what happened. So disappointing, heartbreaking for Red Bull.
And depending on the angle there, I actually thought that might have been a classic Hamilton tap on the back tire. Like I thought maybe it was a spin out by like a contact.
Right.
But
yeah, that was
just a complete power failure, and then causing him to engine brake and lock up.
Absolutely. And then I think going down the field, Hamilton comes in, gets onto the podium. Obviously didn't start as strong maybe, and I don't think you see that pace out of the Mercedes that we saw last season.
Yeah, I mean, certainly not. I mean, I think, like I said, if you look at the final kind of scorecard, or if you look at the fact that Hamilton's third, you know, I think it tells a totally different story than what reality is. Because before the yellow flag, you had Hamilton like 50 seconds back and Russell a minute back.
Right.
So I think like if next race, if there's no yellow flag, then, you know, I think you can expect to see them in that 6 to 10 range kind of thing like they were before the yellow flag.
Yeah, it's quite shocking. I think they have a lot of things that they're still working through. I don't think that car is fully functional to the degree that Hamilton or Russell wants. And then we go look at the surprise. So 2 surprises I were called out. I said Bottas is going to be a contender, remember? Yeah. Coming in 6th, but Haas, Kevin Magnussen, what a showing. Impressive with the Haas. 5th.
It's fabulous. And I thought poor Schumacher, because I thought, like, you know, they had 0 points last year, they're going to get double points. And then, you know, Schumacher I think he was 12th at the end there, but just couldn't hold on. But yeah, definitely great job by, you know, Kevin Magnussen there, and Haas as a whole. I mean, honestly, the whole weekend, my favorite picture, I think I told you, there's a Haas did a post yesterday where you can just see, you know, how ecstatic they are with the qualifying. And it was just such like a great, I guess, human moment.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, they're partying. If I was them to come in 5th after last season on your first race, huge win for them. So that's massive. Bottas came up the field, you know, into 6th with the Alfa Romeo. I thought he did well. Ocon 7th, Tsunoda 8th, Alonso 9th, and then Zhao getting points in his first introduction into F1. I think that's impressive out of Alfa Romeo.
For sure, and I think he's definitely was kind of one of my standout picks too, because I know I don't know the exact stats, but I'm pretty sure it's very uncommon that, you know, they place into points on their first race ever. So very impressive.
And now let's talk about the team that I'm considering getting rid of in my fantasy league. McLaren. Just I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. It was just disappointing all around for both of them.
You can tell at least that obviously with them both having those issues, it's a car issue. So, you know, we expect to have a lot of changes. I don't think by race 2 you'll have too many changes because it's next weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe race 3 they're kind of will look forward to. I have a lot of faith, I think, as that team. I'm tempted to drop them as well. But I think it also might be short-sighted. But
again, I called out. I really wanted to like Ricciardo, but he hasn't proven to me yet that he's at that caliber. I know a lot of this is due to the car. So let's get car issues get sorted. Hopefully all that works out in time. Maybe we see something out of them. And then, you know, when I look at actually all the action from the race after watching it, I was really impressed with the changes and what they did. As you mentioned at the beginning of the show, it was way more exciting. I felt there was a lot more battles. I think the DRS zones and the changes to the aerodynamics with the dirty air helps make it much more engaging, and the battle is much more exciting. So I think that makes the entire field more exciting because it could be anyone's race, right? It's no longer maybe so, you know, lean towards the output of your car or how your car is in comparison. It's a lot more on the driver, I think.
Yeah, and the one thing I was also really impressed with and shocked, right, is normally, you know, I guess being a Red Bull guy, right, I'm like, okay, you know, we can make some time up in the pit stop.
Right.
But it actually was Ferrari that had the stops on lock today.
Right.
You know, they were beating Red Bull by half a second to a second on each stop.
Right. And I think
normally it's the opposite. So
yeah, and it was called out. The tires are much heavier, the entire combination that they're putting on, which is potentially slowing down the pit stops. But Ferrari had no problem with it. Red Bull was usually the team that puts the pace and the time for that, but they didn't do so well. I think you had a 2.7 and a 3.0 pit stop for them on the team. But yeah, just generally, it was an exciting race. You know, big hats off to Ferrari. I think obviously very well. The cars were running well. The drivers were performing extremely well, and they placed first, second. What a start to the F1 season for Ferrari. They're in a great spot now.
And overall, like an interesting, you know, for the constructors as a whole. I know it's, you know, this is one of the longest seasons in the history in terms of the number of races, but, you know, for Red Bull to get 0 points with Ferrari starting 1-2, Mercedes 3-4, and then again, like you said, McLaren, someone that placed 4th last year, getting 0 points. Haas, who's got 0 points last year, getting points. Like, it's just a complete shakeup, and I understand first race, new season, long road ahead of us.
Right.
Definitely, again, if you look at how close the constructors were and the drivers were for Red Bull to kind of have that big of a deficit from race 1, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah, for sure. And Red Bull, just so much sadness, right, with the engine troubles. I guess you can't say anything else. I thought Verstappen raced a great race. I thought Perez also did a great job. It was interesting to see if he was going to hold off Hamilton. And it kind of reminded me of like the last race from last season. I was thought, oh my God, here's a deja vu. And it's a shame to see engine trouble stopping that.
Yeah, and before the engine troubles, right, like it was a couple laps before Perez's car failed, when Hamilton got into that DRS zone, it almost seemed like it did barely anything for him, just because of how much better the Red Bull's performing than the Mercedes as of right now.
Right, which
like, I thought, okay, for sure, Hamilton's going to take him. He's on the podium. He's going to pass Perez in the next couple of corners, and it seemed like it wasn't doing anything for them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I noticed that with Hamilton's car, but then at the same time, I saw Max when he was coming on for Leclerc on the DRS zones, and he was gaining on him very quickly.
Huge. Yeah,
it was huge. I thought, oh my God. But then I was shocked to see the Mercedes not get that type of, you know, pace out of the straight in the DRS zone. So I don't know what's going on with the Mercedes car, the engine, the aerodynamics. I don't know what it is. The porpoising is maybe a problem.
that could, because again, like you mentioned in earlier episodes, right? Mercedes was known for their straight speeds last year, and that's where they made their gains.
Right.
And if they've lost that, then that's, you know, but it could be, like you said, the porpoising issue that they still need to figure out.
Yeah, I think Hamilton's going to go back with a team and, you know, really settle that, or try to settle that as quickly as possible. It's going to be tough for him if he's in a less competitive car. As much as he's a great driver, it's going to be very difficult for him, because I think that advantage really helped him last season. Like, for any driver, it's going to help significantly.
Sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. What a race. Obviously, next week, so we just finished out of Bahrain. Next week, we're going to the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. That's going to be at 1 p.m. at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. We'll obviously be there covering that race. Looking forward to seeing what potential changes are going to happen for the cars going into that week. And then we'll be there into qualifying, seeing how that goes. Will Ferrari continue this amazing start into the season? What's going to happen with Red Bull? Are they going to sort out the engine problems? What are you looking for out of the next race, Mike?
I mean, I'm hoping for, you know, again, that close racing, lots of action, and hopefully, you know, Red Bull as a whole, both from the main team and the sister team of AlphaTauri, they can get their engine issues figured out. You know, if they placed second, fifth, 10th, whatever, but had no car issues, and like, you know, that's you know, good, at least that they're in the right direction. All
right, I have two things I want to ask you to set the predictions before we leave off. Magnussen, is he going to get into points again this coming race? McLaren, are they going to do better than what they did, or are we going to be disappointed again?
I definitely think, you know, Magnussen's going to be in the points again for race 2, because like I said, it's so close. It's less than a week away. The teams have less time to do those changes. McLaren, I hope, again, like I said, from a fantasy standpoint, that they're in the points, but I think they might move up a bit, but still be in the bottom 10.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to obviously covering that race. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out Mike at DRS North. We're going to be covering all the F1 races going forward this season, giving our breakdown and analysis. Looking forward to seeing you all in Jeddah. Catch you guys in the next video.